Today we're talking to James Stevens, who achieved his dream of moving out to Golden, Colorado and starting his own real estate photography business. Let's find out exactly how he did it today in episode 1 of Real Estate Photography Unlocked.
I'm just trying to get mine, but these agents got me losing my mind. Whatever happened to the good times? Man, forget about it. It's showtime. Let me show you how to get some rest, how to make millions, how to be your best. This is shout out to the REPs, to the shooters, producers, and the newbies. Welcome to our podcast. I'm your rep MC. We're here every week talking real estate photography.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the brand new podcast, Real Estate Photography Unlocked. Today we have our guest, James Stevens. He's a real estate photographer out of Colorado. And without further ado, we're going to get right into the podcast. How you doing today, James?
Pretty good. Just
good.
What's you? Yeah.
Not bad at all. I'm really interested to hear how you're doing. I know I spoke with you at least a few months or a year or two ago, and you were really starting to get a lot of business. And now I imagine you're doing quite a bit. So would you mind telling how you learned real estate photography under me? What was that experience like? Feel free. You know, you're not under my payroll anymore. So
Yeah. So that was a good time. So I was still in school a few years back, and basically just had a business class. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had been doing photography, sort of freelance, a lot of automotive work, a few weddings here and there. But I wanted to do something with photography and didn't know what. And this business class I happened to take required me to get an internship. So I reached out to a few photographers, one of them being Jonathan, real estate, and he was the only one that I actually heard back from. Went and interviewed with him, really just liked his process and what he did. Houses, I still say, are not necessarily the most exciting thing. They're very stagnant, they're very stationary, but I ended up really finding some passion in that and finding how to make that creative and really loving it. So worked under him for 2 years, learned everything from Jonathan, from A to Z of how to deal with clients, how to get clients, how to shoot, of course, editing, video work, drone stuff, certifications, whatever you need. And then, my end goal was to move out to Colorado and start my own business. So after a few years, once I was comfortable, I came out here, and it was awesome. The best thing I've ever done.
yes, and I will say to this day, James is one of the best hires I've ever made. He had excellent expertise. He's a phenomenal automotive photographer, and he was a fantastic FPV pilot, and he taught me how to do FPV. So thank you, James, for also teaching me plenty. One of the questions I want to ask, just from starting this, is where did you make more money? Automotive photography or real estate photography?
Oh, real estate.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I mean, we make in a month now probably what I made collectively over 6 years of automotive photography as a whole. Yeah.
That's not even.
Yeah.
And how many followers did you have on your automotive Instagram page?
About 15,000.
All right. So that's pretty big. In fact, that would be one of the biggest Instagram automotive pages at least in the area, for sure.
Yeah, back in North Carolina, for sure.
So, and I know we've discussed this a lot when we were talking with each other when you were working with me, but one of the dirtiest secrets, it seems like, in automotive photography is that you don't make a lot of money because clients aren't willing to pay you.
Yeah, it all depends on what exactly you're doing. There's definitely people out there who are doing full-time automotive work that's simply commercial. They only work with businesses or major corporations and no one else, and they're doing just fine. That's a very, very hard niche to get into. What I was doing was just admittedly sort of the Instagram social media style, just, I don't want to say for fun shoots because I always charge, but that's how a lot of people look at them. It was just sort of people with cars who decided, I think it'd be cool to have some photos, and they would reach out and hire me. And while it was a ton of fun, got to see a lot of cool cars and go a lot of cool places with it and everything, I found through you with the real estate how much more utility there is in taking photos of something that is going to be used by someone versus photos that people just might want. So, I mean, what weddings, I guess, maybe don't fall into that. That's sort of a bigger deal, but versus, family portraits or birthday party shoots and stuff, those are all things that people might just kind of decide they want one day. And that's the only reason they would hire you. Whereas real estate or product photography or any sort of commercial work has genuine utility from the person who's paying for it. And that goes a lot farther for the photographer down the line.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just saying that because a lot of people think about real estate photography, and we're going to get to some advanced stuff later in the podcast, but we'll help some beginners right now. A lot of people look at real estate photography and think, oh, I guess that's kind of good, but I'll probably just make as much money as an Instagram photographer. I find that, man, a lot of business you get through Instagram, and that even includes in real estate photography. A lot of agents who are obsessed with their Instagram page are actually really bad customers. I'm not sure if you've had experience with that, but I know that I've experienced. I'd really like to hear from you on that. But yeah, so real estate photography is a great opportunity, guys. What are some of the main differences you find between automotive photography and real estate photography? I know that one of the things that I think you had to get used to was how easy it was and how simple it was compared to your automotive photography is incredibly detailed. I know that you have said before you leave no pixel unturned. So what's the differences between real estate photography and automotive there?
So there's sort of two sides I would touch on that, and sort of a pro and con. I guess not even really pros and cons, depending on how you look at it. One would be the creativity side, and not that there's no creativity in real estate photography, because there certainly is, especially once you start going more architectural and whatnot. But it's very standardized. There's sort of a checklist of things you need to do. You need to do them properly, and if you do them, you will at least touch all the bases, and you'll be good enough to deliver something that will make the client happy, even if they don't go crazy about it. With automotive photography, there is no real way to set yourself apart or get noticed without being incredibly unique and incredibly creative, and location scouting and props and models and whatever you can have, and motion and movement. You have to get very, very in-depth with making a singular shot as eye-catching to the entire world as possible. And it's not what you have to do with real estate. Now, on the other side, I will say that with real estate, as far as the business goes, much more professional, much more professionalism from just both sides. I mean, it's both sides of our transaction, between the realtor and the photographer, are people involved in a transaction. I mean, the realtor is only doing this to try and make a transaction with their client and to get a good sale and to get a good commission. So everyone is very professional. Everyone's very efficient. Everyone's very time-oriented. Car photography, again, at least the kind I was doing, was very casual. It was sort of a DM on Instagram. Hey, what's up? Yeah, we can shoot. Meet me here. Whatever. Hang out. Talk for a bit. Kind of do the thing. Maybe deliver the photos in 2 or 3 weeks because of how much time you spend editing on them. So just a very different workflow between the two as well.
What would you say is the top 3 things that you learned while working under me that were key to your success when you moved out to Colorado?
Time management. That is almost everything I said is something you had sort of taught me. Where just going down that rabbit hole of time with real estate, and that's not what matters most, but that's probably the second factor when it comes to photography. The photos have to look good and they have to be fast. You, at least 9 out of 10 realtors can't be spending 10 hours at the shoot, and you need to deliver the photos within 24, maybe 48 hours. But it's fast paced. They like efficiency. Realtors care about time probably more than anything else.
Yeah. What would you say were the other 2?
Other 2 would be, of course, all the photography, all the standards. It should be obvious to everyone, but sometimes you look through Zillow and it's not. Of just symmetry wherever you can, even toilet seats down,
right?
All lights on. Looking through each room and making sure things are staged properly. If anything needs minor adjusting, moving it. It is surprising how many people that you'll notice that still miss those things. So that was probably number 2. And then third, time, photography, and then, client acquisition, I would say, and how important it is, and how important it is to take different routes. there's no real one key winner. I mean, there'll be one thing that might sort of start doing better for you, and then a few months later, that thing doesn't work anymore, and you got to switch it up. And so how to do that, the different methods of doing that, and then sort of tying in just sort of all the backside, putting out email campaigns with MailChimp, scheduling things to post on social media, filming social media just for the company personally, things like that, and how important it is the third thing I'd say.
And what would you say is the most effective? Well, actually, let's get into that right now. So you worked for me. We didn't have any problem with each other. We had a great time. In fact, I've never had any issues with any of my 3 employees that I've hired. So one of the reasons why that happens is because number one, I don't hire anybody I don't genuinely love hanging out with. If I have to work every day with someone I have to tolerate and just kind of grind my teeth with, that's a bad, don't do. That's not why we started our own business, to work with people we hate, right? So, anyway, so you moved out to Colorado and you knew a ton of people there. So it was very easy for you to start your business, right?
Oh, totally. I knew my little brother who was still in school, and that was it. So I had one other buddy from North Carolina who coincidentally moved out to Colorado a couple weeks before me, just by chance. He was not planning on it at all. And that sort of lined up too. But no, didn't really know anyone. Basically started completely from scratch, just in a new city where no one knew me.
Awesome. And why did you choose to do that rather than go to somewhere where you knew it? Like, was it a personal choice or profit choice?
Definitely. Just a personal choice. I mean, the photography is what I want to do in life, but before anything, what matters most to me in life is being where I want to be. There's nothing more miserable in my mind than living somewhere I don't want to live. And Greensboro, all of my Greensboro, North Carolina. But to each their own, and it's different for everyone by all means. I wouldn't want to live in a beach either, but I know some people absolutely love living at the beach. So it's very personal. The most important factor, once I was just out on my own and ready to go, was living where I wanted to live. And Denver wasn't even necessarily something I was locked into or that set on. I just wanted to live in the Rocky Mountains, Salt Lake City, Denver, or anywhere in between the two in the mountains, skiing. How I like spending my whole winter. So that was just a personal choice. And then again, it was kind of by chance that a few years before me, my little brother moved out to Denver. So I had visited him a couple times. I had sort of gotten to know the city, really sort of fell in love with it then. And so despite not knowing anyone but him, I was totally happy to come out here, and it was totally worth it.
Awesome. And I just to put in there, I really think that that's a wise choice. It's one of the things I've always admired you for, because I have my roots really here deep in Greensboro in the Triad area, and I don't hate it. I have no problem traveling around and going home to a place where I can raise my family well. But then, I see you on it. Yeah. And I see you on Instagram though, and I see what you're doing every weekend. And it's like, I just got back from Iceland a few weeks ago, or I guess it's already been a month or two. But you experience that kind of beauty every weekend, if actually probably every day. And that is such a valuable life choice to where you can't put a price tag on that. So guys, you are thinking about, a lot of people get into real estate photography thinking money. Man, there's more to life than money, because the money will come in real estate photography. Pace yourself and start thinking about, just life quality choices as well. That includes your work hours and everything else. But all right, so let's get into the real grit here of what this episode is about, and that's acquiring clients. So when you left, I tried to set you up as much as possible. I gave you an email list. I taught you how to organize that email list so you could see who the top clients are. Gave it to you, and then you flew out there. I had also... What else had I done? You had done where you already got your website set up. You were ready to go. It's not like you got out there and had to do a bunch of things. You were like landing and ready to go. And you didn't work for a few months just to take a break. We've already covered life choices. I think that was a really wise choice. Also, you were very financially responsible. I think I won't share how much money you saved unless you want to tell, but you had saved a substantial amount of money when you were working for me, which shows, all right, great, I'm paying you enough. But also, I have had people work for me under that same salary, and they don't always save that money. So just saying, guys, getting your life together, being financially responsible, essential to success in real estate photography. You can't be a real estate photographer, own your own business, and be irresponsible with your budget and your finances. But anyway, you got out there and you knew what I recommended. And did you do that? Did you do something else? How long did it take you to actually get your feet and your wheels getting traction? And how long ago was that? And how many years have you been in business? What are you looking like today?
So I guess about 2.5, roughly, give or take, probably a couple months, 2.5 years in total. And so when I got out here, I took a couple months off just to really sort of take it all in, enjoy everything. To be short, but like you said, that is exactly why I saved up, is because moving across the country and taking 3 or 4 months off to literally explore the place, you can't do that unless you, have some responsibility and save up, and that's your priority. So did that, loved it. By the time we were ready to kick off and start going, and so I will preface and say it was me and one other person. I'm the sole founder of the LLC and the only person on the LLC, and so he is technically my employee. He was there since day one and did help with a lot of the startup stuff. And so we did sort of just a mix of really everything that you recommended. So, we got the website up, we got that established, we got a MailChimp up, we got that established, and using the list that you provided, which was just a whole bunch of realtors in the area. We made just an introduction email that we sent out. We got our Instagram up and going with a few posts. Put up a bunch of nice photos, put up, some headshots, one of me, one of him, one of us together. And then we started cold DMing people all over, following hashtags, posting the hashtags, commenting on posts, did the same on Facebook. We did a lot of cold calling too, both off the list and just browsing Zillow. We would just go through Zillow, find realtors, write their name down, write their number down, call. We did a few presentations at a few different offices where we went in, introduced ourselves, asked if they needed anyone to speak during some continuing education, and the majority of them said no, but of course a few said yes. We passed out some flyers. That was another thing. I had 500 flyers printed that just introduced the company, had a small coupon code on it. And just went to every physical office I could find in the area and dropped off 25 or so flyers. That one, not effective. Say right off. Physical print is not super effective. But yeah, it was kind of just a combination of everything. I would say the two that I'm trying to think of, if one really outbeat the other, cold calling and Instagram were probably our two biggest initially off the bat. And then since then, it sort of progressed into a combination of the email, which I'd say, it went into the email, and then that sort of faded off. And now it's just a lot of word of mouth. Honestly, is still our biggest. It's almost weekly that we get a call, a text, an email from someone says, blank recommended us. Can we learn more? And so word of mouth has just been absolutely huge since sort of getting a name established.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. So if you guys are hearing all this, and you're just like, wow, this guy hit it and hit it hard, that's because he has seen what we kind of do here when we are trying to gain clients. Frankly, sometimes I sabotage my growth a little bit because I don't want to grow anymore, so I stop advertising. But I kind of encourage a land, sea, and air attack, right? Because you can go to a new city and people are just all about Instagram in, let's say, Florida, like on the beach. Yeah, people are going to be all about what's going on Instagram in there. But if you're in the middle of Oklahoma, people might not care about Instagram that much. They might be a little bit old school, so they like getting a phone call, or they like doing a good old handshake, right? So it's going to depend. So the best thing you guys can do is take all of those things and try to implement them and experiment with them yourself. And then if it changes in 3 or 6 months, it may be the thing that you didn't the thing. Welcome to North Carolina. That didn't work out before. But how quickly did this work? Was it like you started doing this and the next month you're making $50,000 a month, or?
Definitely not. So it wasn't, I would say, I feel like I've only, known a few other full-time photographers personally enough to talk with this about, I guess, but I feel like we sort of fell right down the middle of, it was definitely not an instantaneous start. I'd say the first 3-4 months, I think it was the first 3 or 4 months, I know for a fact that neither one of us even paid ourselves, just because we, weren't making enough. I think the first month was literally a couple $100, and then a couple grand and a couple grand, and it was a solid 7-8 months, I'd say, until we made $10,000 a month. And then that was also just sort of at the height of the season and everything. And then, winter came around and we sort of dipped back down from that. And then in years prior, we picked back up and we've been way more consistent since. But to really get sort of going at a hourly wise full-time rate of work or so, I'd probably say 6 to 8 months roughly.
Wow. Well, that's still really good especially since you have 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, how long would it take to do that if you're working with, as an employee somewhere or another business? You might never get $10,000 a month as an employee somewhere. And who knows what you'd have to do to try to win over, the boss and get you that promotion, working overtime, skipping vacations, never getting sick. So it's certainly, and then you own your own income. So what would you say is some of the least effective manners that you tried? You mentioned, flyers.
Yeah. So the flyers, I really thought, I don't know, just in my mind, I thought would be a great idea because it's a combination of you're there in person, you get to shake a hand, you get to introduce yourself, but they get to see the work right then and there on the flyer. They can see some photos. They can, see a little coupon code that they can save 10% or whatever you decide to put on there. And so I thought that was going to be very effective. And I think we got one client off of it from hundreds of flyers and several hours driving around and talking to people. Most people were very, very nice. At least 1 or 2, I swear, looked at me like I was an alien. Just like, who is this kid and why is he in here handing me flyers? So it was rough and it was not very effective. The cold calling was definitely effective and definitely worth doing. It's so hard because the number of calls you have to make for it to become effective is a lot.
Yes.
And so that is hard. You cannot expect to make 10 calls and get 4 or 5 clients.
Yeah.
At all. It's
like, I think my ratio is like 100 to 1 or sometimes 200.
Yeah.
Did you, when you're cold calling and you're trying to get it done really quick, lots of times, when you're calling somebody, you just get a blank number. You get a blank number. A few questions I have, because I used to figure out a good way where I could just click the call. So I'd have a list of stuff and I'd click the call and they didn't answer. That's fine. I'd instantly click to call the next person. I could knock out like 400 to 600 phone calls in a single day if I was really trying to get business going. And then I had a pretty good simple CRM back then where if they didn't answer, I could just reschedule the phone call, in a week or something. But nowadays on the current iPhones, click to call doesn't work with my PC, and the CRMs are all overcomplicated and everything else. So what were some of the phone call, like, were you just dialing it in every single time?
We were just, there was the 2 of us and we did about 150 a day or so, give or take. And yeah, I mean, we definitely got some. We tried to be, again, I learned this from you, just very quick and effective. And selling photography on the phone is hard. It's visual. And the only thing that matters when hiring a photographer is, do they do good work? And so when you're talking to someone over the phone, it doesn't mean much if you're talking about photography. And so we tried to be very brief. You don't really try to sell them right then and there. It was essentially hey, we're Front Range Media, we're new in the area. If we offer this, this, and this, if you're interested, can we send you an email for you to check out some work? And so we basically left it at that. We got a whole mix, of course. Some people were just slam the phone no. Some people were rude. Who are you and how did you get this number? It's listed publicly on Zillow. I don't know why you're mad. Some
Don't call people either, right?
Exactly, yeah. Some people, would just be very nice and say, yes, you can send it, and that would be that. And then some people would just pick up the conversation right there and start asking prices and start asking where we service. And so we got a whole mix of everything. But the premise of each call was essentially just to introduce ourselves, get permission to send the email. Then when they saw that email, it's not sort of just like the phone call. It's not an immediate spam. They recognize the name. They say, oh, I talked to this guy. Oh, yeah, I did tell him he could send me an email. Let me open it and actually read through it. And so in that regard, when we got those people, those were pretty effective. And initially off the bat, that was one of the best ways I think we got clients.
What would you say is the most effective way of talking to the agent when you're on the phone with them? Is it just like, how do you know a phone call is going well? What tips would you give to someone to make a good phone call?
So really anyone that expresses any interest, whether it's a singular yes to asking about an email, whether they ask you a singular thing of what's your turnaround time, or what's your starting price at, or do you offer drone? If they ask literally any question whatsoever, that was a sign it was going well. And then from there, of course, you sort of had to adapt to each person, but that was always an inclination that they have some interest, that they either have something coming up, or that they have a doubt in their current photographer, or that they, whatever it is, there's something about what you do that interests them. And so that was the number one sign of, all right, continue forward, see what you can get, see if they need any more information. Again, you sort of had to pander to each person. Some people would become chatty Cathy, start talking about, oh, you just got here from where, and we do this, and oh, you do Matterport too, great, and blah, blah, blah. And then some people would just, yeah, your prices are good, I'll call you if I can. And so just sort of, listening right off the bat, seeing if they're interested, playing it from there, and then being efficient. Again, 9 out of 10 realtors, if not 9.9 out of 10 realtors, don't want to sit and talk on the phone for 15 minutes. They're going to get your information. They're going to share your email or get your email. And that's the gist of it. That's roughly all you need to do.
That's awesome, man. And I'm glad you had success with that, because I know that when you guys asked about cold calling and I gave it to you and I said, listen, it's going to be rough. I'm glad you did it. A lot of people will be like, bump that. I'd rather be homeless. But you guys did it and you got results. I'm happy about that. What would you say is the most effective way of acquiring clients per unit of effort for you guys?
Per unit of effort, I would probably have to say Instagram and social media. Simply because you do the same thing as cold calling. Essentially, you just find account after account after account after account. The only difference is, of course, you can have a pre-established message on copy and paste. And it's just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And you can send out hundreds and hundreds. And you don't, most importantly, you don't have to deal with the instantaneous rejection of someone yelling at you on the phone. Because, man, there is nothing worse than someone getting very angry at you on the phone, hanging up and realizing, let's call another.
Did you ever get your account punished or blocked because you were spamming, or they tried to say spamming? No? Okay, good.
No.
And would you say that emails were less effective than that per unit of effort?
Emails were less effective. I mean, both Instagram and emails are easier than the phone calling. Just again, because you type out one message and then you have that ready to go and mass send it, and you don't have to customize each conversation. But with the emails, you do have to get a MailChimp, which you have to pay for. You got to import and do all this stuff with your client list and whatever. Instagram is free. If you have a phone and you have internet, you can get on, you can do it right now. And so I'd say that effort wise, that would be easiest because most people already have their Instagram and it costs nothing to reach out to hundreds and hundreds of people.
Okay. So you started getting traction, like 6 months in. What did the second year look like for you? Did you guys explode and that was it? You guys are eating caviar, or was it still gradual? How did it go?
So second year was less of growth, and admittedly, we slowed down our advertising a lot. We did no cold calling the second year by any means. We still did some cold DMing and we still did emailing and social media and whatnot. But yeah, we didn't cold calling in the second year. And so with that, what we sort of got to by the second year was less of an explosion or growth and more consistency. So I'd say, the second half of year one, after the 6-ish month mark of, doing over at a base mark of doing over 10,000 a month of it was sort of like a 1 month, yeah, next month, no, 1 month, yeah, next month, no. It's sort of a wave. And then coming into the second year, there was growth, got up into a more consistent 13, 14, 15K a month. And just sort of staying there, even in the slower months. And so that's what the second year more looked like. And going into the third year now, we're still at that sort of consistent rate. We're just starting to hit the slowdown for winter, which is pretty drastic here in such a snowy place. But next year we want to go back into a growth explosion mindset of doing whatever we can do to just simply client acquisition as much as we can.
Cool. And what are you planning? How are you planning that now that you've had experience? What's going to be your recipe for, I guess, domination?
Probably again a combination of everything, and then sort of seeing if one of them starts to take off as we get going, and if one of them is clearly doing better, then leaning more into that. We do have the benefit of being established now, people knowing us, also having a portfolio that's local. Depending on where you are in the country, that might not matter. A lot of the Midwest or center of the country, you could shoot anywhere, move anywhere, and it would be roughly the same. If you go to a mountain town or a beach town like Miami, and your portfolio has 0 mountain shots or 0 beach house shots, it's harder to get noticed by people. So now that we're here, we have a huge portfolio of mountain homes. We're well known. We hope to lean into referrals a lot. And while we get a lot of them, if we can start incentivizing more, small discount codes, something to benefit the realtor for sharing us, social media giveaways, any type of post where they share our page to their followers. Since word of mouth is so good, we hope to lean into that however we can.
Okay. Speaking of discount codes and everything else, so you try to implement that you use Aereo, is that correct? How's Aereo been working for you? I'm an Aereo user as well right now. It's been sending emails to the wrong clients and all sorts of stuff for me. It's making some waves in the industry, a lot of bad news. Have you been having that experience as well?
I saw they had their problem with the teams or something. They rolled out a new feature. Thankfully, we only had, I think, one problem with that at all. And that wasn't even necessarily a technical problem. It was that one of our realtors had left a different agent on their team who no longer worked there. And so when we delivered a property, that person got the email and simply sent us an email saying, hey, I'm no longer with them. Take me off this thread. And that's the only problem we've had. Other than that, it's been great. It's just sort of, does what it needs to. There hasn't been really anything spectacular. I wish the mobile app was better. The mobile app, it's not great. But as far as, just the daily process, all of our bookings have been fine. All of our deliveries have been fine.
Good. Yeah, I haven't had too much trouble, but I have had a few clients reach out and be like, hey, I got a delivery that wasn't mine. I was like, all right. Then I would call the agent that it was supposed to be delivered to, and they did receive it. It's just that it was going to several people.
Other people.
So, very interesting. All right. So what would you say when you were acquiring clients? Are there good and bad clients that you run into? What are some stories you've got there, especially for people starting out here, but also long-term? I know that starting out, well, first of all, people might not even recognize their bad client. So what are the bad clients that you've met? You have to name them, of course, but just examples of what they've done. And like, what are some red flags you've learned to look out for? And do you take bad clients still, and just manage them, or do you just decide, hey, you're not the client for me?
So we definitely have bad clients. We've had some that are so bad that we don't work with anymore, and basically told them that. We still have bad clients now that we just sort of do what we can to mitigate. And, I just sort of I shouldn't say pander. I just sort of adjust to them whenever they contact me. It always takes just a little bit of extra work, a little bit of extra fluff to manage it. Some red flags, I would say, and something that we've run into, the most consistent thing, and this might not determine them as a bad client overall. It's just the most common thing, and that is not having properties ready. And so there's just some agents you know that it may start off with one, maybe it was at the first one that you ever do for them and you don't think much of it. But after you start working with a bunch of realtors consistently, you will find that some have the house pristine, empty, with a lockbox, ready to go every single time. And then you'll find others every single time. Oh, we got to clean this room. Oh, can you help me move these boxes? Oh, the painter's in the guest room, so if we can just save that for last, he'll be done by the time we'll leave. Oh, yeah, the lawn people haven't finished in the back, so if we can just start in the front, we'll finish back there. And that happens to probably every realtor at some point one time, but you will find some have it on every single property. And that's the most consistent problem we run into.
Yeah, exactly. Same story here. And I've learned over the years too that sometimes it's the seller, right? But sometimes it's the agent. They are clearly getting the listing agreement and then doing no education to the seller of this is what needs to happen in order for you to sell your house. So sometimes it falls on us. And in my experience, lots of times I've been doing real estate longer than these agents that I'm photographing for. And I have to actually kind of educate them on not how to do their job, but that's exactly what I'm teaching them how to do. Say, hey guys, so this is how you list a house, but not using those words. So how do you manage that situation? Do you just kind of learn to deal with it? Have you had success where you have an agent who isn't doing what they should and you have a heart-to-heart and they actually change their ways? Because that seems to be pretty rare. I mean, that's a sensitive topic to navigate through because they can get defensive and all stuff. So, how do you handle that?
There's only been one or two that we've had to actually directly say, "Hey, look, we're running into this a lot for each appointment that we have with these properties and how long they should usually take based off the square footage. It's taken double, triple that, which causes problems with other appointments we have in the day, which causes problems with editing that needs to get done. So just sort of it's the client's always right, the customer's always right, even though they never are. But that's how you have to treat them. And so just sort of still being very nice and just sort of saying, hey, please, before you schedule, if you could just verify that this is going to be ready to go. And so that's actually something that we just recently introduced because we were seeing a lot with a lot of clients in the last couple months was I added a dedicated checkbox at checkout on Aereo that says I agree or I understand the property needs to be photo ready with no other service providers there. And if there's a problem with this, I agree to either an additional fee or I'll contact you prior. Because again, we're happy to work with people. And if someone says, hey, the basement's going to be painted while you're there, can you shoot the upper floor? But I'll pay you next week to come back and shoot the basement. Then we have no problem with that. And so I don't want them to think they can't book with us. But we needed to put something in that makes every single client see we need the house to be ready. And I will agree the house will be ready. And I understand if the house is not ready, then that's a problem with us.
Yeah, believe it or not, the checkbox does work. I have put one in the past that says, the house will be ready. But I have actually had some progress or some improvement in some of my listings by making it a little bit more all caps Facebook marketplace listing type of style, where it's like, I agree that there will be no other professionals scheduled on the day of the appointment at any time. Because lots of times I would have painters, but man, the worst contractor that delays and ruins an appointment is got to be stagers. Stagers are just the worst at keeping their deadlines. So yeah, after putting that into effect, people have seen some improvement, and I have had some heart-to-heart. So what are some clients that you've had to fire? What were those situations like, and how did you do it? Did you obviously just didn't give them the middle finger and get back in your car? Maybe you did.
No, there's no one really we've had to directly sort of like tell off or fire. There's just sort of people that we just slowly worked off working with them. And the easiest way, this is something you taught me, is just not available. Don't have to say why. Don't have to say anything. Just, sorry, we're not available to shoot that. Sorry, it's you want us to come out at 8 a.m. on Sunday? Sorry, we're not available. But so, and then you do that enough, and they don't come back to you. I think the only person we actually had to fire was a seller who was so bad the realtor fired her as a client. The realtor is still one of our longest and best clients. We love her to death. She's awesome. She booked this shoot, and unbeknownst to her too, just normal shoot. We go out there, and oh my Lord, this lady is just insane about managing everything, moving everything, Photoshop. Once she gets the photos back, not happy with anything, this, that, just went on and on and on, to the point where our realtor was like, hey, I'm so sorry about this. She is off the walls, and I'm done with her. You do not have to work with her anymore if you don't want to. I'm sorry. And so we tried to pander to her for another day or two of just fixing up a photo here, a photo there. I tried to mitigate, saying, sorry, you really can't do that. Sorry, you really can't do that. And then it did get to a point where I just had to tell her, hey, I'm really sorry. We've done all we can do for this project. You have what you have. We've done what we've done, and we're going to step away at this point. And she was a little upset with that. But again, it was a one-off seller. It's not a realtor that I'm ever going to potentially work with again, or is going to have another listing. So she was, once we heard that our realtor had fired her, we knew everything we need to know. So that was the only really bad we've had.
Okay, it's funny that the one person you had to fire was a for sale by owner. I mean, that's what it ended up being.
Yeah. I never learned the context of why. One of the final straws the day before I quote fired her was I had a missed call from her at, I think it was like 3:16 a.m. And I woke up. Thankfully, it didn't wake me up. Otherwise, I would have been really mad. But I woke up the next day and saw it, and it was just like, I don't know if there's any photographer in the entire world that needs to be called at 3:16 a.m.
No person. I mean,
where
doctor, like,
where he can't wait for the morning. And so that was the morning. The next day, I was like, hey, I'm sorry. We're going to step away from this project.
And you just get this mental image of this homeowner, like sitting on her phone or desktop, just looking through the image, just getting angry and angry. Like, oh, those jerks. Oh, I can't believe what they didn't. Well, just getting madder and madder until they finally just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
16 a.m.
Yeah.
So clearly that's too far. Now that you've got some experience underneath your own belt as your own business owner, guiding the ship, making calls every single day, do you have a set of boundaries that you would say are guidelines? Because man, if there's one thing that I love to teach people, because you see it in the Facebook groups and on the subreddits, and other forums where people are just like saying, hey, so I'm driving an hour and a half out for this client. It's just like, whoa. Like, and they say they're not charging a travel fee. It's like, should I charge a travel fee for going an hour and a half? It just seems like a lot of driving. It's like, are you kidding me? Of course can't travel. What's it? What are you thinking? So what are some boundaries that people just need to understand? Like, hey guys, this is standard. This is absolutely acceptable and healthy. And if you've not been doing this so far, you need to start doing it right now.
Yeah. So just having a balance with everything, we're pretty willing and open to do most requests that our clients have, just being willing and unshamefully charging appropriately for it. So this week I had a shoot 2 hours away, one way. One direction was 2 hours. The travel charge was almost $150 alone, and that's a very good realtor of ours. It was a large ranch style property, and she didn't want anyone else to shoot it, so she was more than happy to pay $150 for the travel fee alone. So as long as you're willing to, put your foot down, be appropriate with it, you can do really anything. Another thing we introduced on top of the checkbox was just it's a product option or an add-on, which is extra Photoshop, because you get a lot of, you deliver some photos, you shoot the house as is because you're a photographer, you're not a stager, you're not a cleaner. You shoot what's there and we'll deliver something. Oh, can you remove this? Can you remove this? Can you change this color? Can you change this? And so we introduced the $75 add-on that now, before we do any of that work, we just tell them, hey, yeah, we're happy to do that. There's going to be an extra fee if you'd like us to. Here it is. But we're happy to do that.
That's huge, man. That's it. Because a lot of people just are too afraid to do it. Like, do those things all, they're afraid of that going into a huge argument. Do you guys get into an argument with your clients, or do you mention it and they don't even think about it twice?
Exactly. No, and that sort of goes back to real estate being a very professional thing the agents sort of work on the same boat in a weird a la carte way. The more they do for you, the more they're going to charge you. The less they do for you, the less they're going to charge you. And they understand we're the same way. So I don't think we should anyone really get mad or argue with us. So you just tell them that that's how it is, and they either say yes or no.
So what would you say to a real estate photographer who insists, and I see this argument all the time, once again, in the Facebook groups where people are like, no, you just got to you're going to turn away business if you do that. If you want to stay in the business, you got to go above and beyond and willing to do these things, versus someone who's like, yeah, no problem. I'll be happy to do it. The charge is $25 or $50.
Yeah. It always, so we've never had a problem with it at all, and I don't know why people think they would, because again, you're dealing with professionals, and it's just sort of telling them look at a restaurant or a car shop. If you go get your oil change and you say, oh, I would also like my transmission fluid changed, no one would expect that just to happen for free. You're providing additional service, and it's very easy to explain to anyone. So they might ask for this, and this, and you just say, yeah, that's going to take me a couple hours to edit. If it won't, here's the additional fee. And yeah, no one's ever argued. They just say yes, or they say, oh, okay, no worries. We'll just leave it as is. Yeah. And they don't book it, and that's all. And then, going above and beyond, I think is very doable while still staying within your bounds of being an appropriate business owner. So, you don't have to be strict and hard as a rock on all of this. If one of your really good clients who books you all the time and is never given problems wants one or two things touched up, don't say, yeah, but I'm going to charge you this extra fee. Take 10 minutes and touch them up because they're a good client. Yeah. For a brand new person, no, maybe definitely not. But, as you can be a good person and still.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Yeah. So all the time,
especially treating that way from the beginning. Some people will be like, okay, I'm going to wait until they're my client and I've gotten their loyalty, then I'll start charging them. I would say exactly like you said, do the opposite. Prepare them and train your client from the beginning. Set expectations for the relationship, saying, hey, yes, we can do that. It's going to cost. Like, it's not because I'm nickeling and diming you to death. I'm just setting expectations that my time and my energy and my resources and my skills are worth money, and I just don't share them with the community for free. And when you're young, and I'm not talking about you, I'm just talking about me, really. When I was younger and I was in my 20s, man, I would be working 24/7, 7 days a week. I guess that's what 24/7 means. All hours of the night, no problem, going up and down, left and right for my clients. And man, I could have made a ton more money if I had just had the knowledge. It's not the guts or the audacity, just the knowledge to charge. Because I'm looking, like, if you guys think about the math here, if you, rather than doing sky swaps for free, and I know that is a common thing, but just having that as an addition for like $15 or $25, or sky swaps are a very, very common thing. So if you're doing 400, 500, 1,000 shoots a year, and 25% of those shoots are, getting sky swaps, then let's do the math on that. Maybe you can help me out. Let's say you do 250 sky swaps a year. 100 would be 250. So that's 250 times 100 would be
2,500.
Yeah. So $2,500 for 100 shoots. So that's an additional $7,500 for 250. Somewhere around that $7,500 a year. That's a lot of money. I mean, that is a cheap beater car, Honda Fit, that you can now drive around to all your shoots and keep your nice, Mercedes or whatever else you drive that you want to keep nice in the garage. Or, that pays a significant amount of your taxes. Or $7,500 is a very nice vacation.
Absolutely.
That's about what I spent, recently to Iceland, and we had a fantastic trip staying in Airbnbs every night. Guys, what may be a small charge to your client that they don't think anything of, at volume to you is going to mean all the difference. That's just one of the things. All right, well, we're coming towards the end here. I have a few lightning questions I'd like to ask you.
Yeah.
And if you could answer these in just 30 to 60 seconds or less, even if you want. And, also don't, feel free. Some of these may relate to me a little bit. Feel free to, just shoot fire from the hip. So in review, in this podcast, what would you say is the best method to get clients overall?
Cold calling initially, word of mouth after a little bit of time.
Okay. Which is better, flamboyant or bracketed photography for real estate?
Ooh, I personally like bracketed. That's again because we like to work off of time and efficiency. I like being able to shoot 5, 6 properties a day. If we're talking with a team of multiple people, 10 properties a day is not impossible at all. I do think flamboyant has its place in the industry in certain architectural, higher end homes. But if we're going to go all encompassing, I'd say bracketed.
Okay. What's a good pricing for outsourcing to you?
Well, no more than 75 cents. And that was 75 cents an image. And that would be starting off if they were really good. And then I would hope to work down from there.
Okay. And what do you say to someone that says that's robbery, that you're taking advantage of the third world?
You have no idea how many of those they are doing. It is. You are a drop in the ocean.
What's the most you would spend on a real estate photography course?
$299.
Okay. What is the most you would spend on a mentorship program?
I personally wouldn't. I just not really interested. I do understand the benefit it has for some people, and I'd say a similar. If I were in their shoes, I would probably say something similar, a couple $100, because you can get genuine value out of it. I do think if you start going into thousands of dollars, then you're giving up more than what you might see out of it for a long time. But a couple $100.
What is another real estate photography niche you would say comes is comparable to real estate photography as far as good career choice?
Specifically in photography, I would say product photography and genuine product photography. I mean, there's a lot of people who, I don't know, just sort of experiment, try and do very creative stuff, but there is a very legitimate sort of way to do proper product photography. The things you would see, you introduced me to your old mentor who shot for Polo and Ralph Lauren and really big companies, and there is a genuinely correct way to get those high-end product photographies, and those have big utilities for the companies who are buying, similar to real estate. So I'd say is the closest thing I could think of.
All right, that's it for today, and I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you, James, for being an honored guest for our very first episode of Real Estate Photography Unlocked. I know that you've done a lot for me ever since you've gone off on your own, but man, I love keeping in touch with you, and I have your film from your the portrait that I got from you, the landscape. It's inside your jersey case here.
Awesome.
Here in the studio, I keep the old uniform from all of my employees on display here because I like to, just think about their legacy, and I like, to think about it every once in a while. So thank you very much, guys. If you have enjoyed the podcast, feel free to follow us. We're going to be doing this weekly. And if you have any suggestions about who you'd want on or topics you'd like to talk about, feel free to message me or leave some comments, and I'll be happy to implement those. We're going to have some great guests. The next guest we're having on is David Deal, and we're going to go in depth, step by step, on copyright infringement, how to deal with that, and the best cases to follow. So thank you, everybody, watching. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day.